choose to worship a creator God who forbade man to actually eat from the tree of knowledge, one which you have obviously eaten from because you're a rather knowledgeable man, why would you choose to worship this sort of deity who would have kept you dumb?
That's a very good question. I'll tell you why it's a good question. I notice it was asked originally by a snake. The answer to your question, though, is this. Do I worship a God who wants to keep me down? Tell you the kind of God I worship. I worship the kind of God who made me in his image and coded himself into humanity, came into our world to provide a basis through his death and resurrection that I could become something that I was not by creation, and that is a son of God. The notion that God is trying to keep us down is actually the original lie.
This is Religious Liberty. In Revelation 14, men are called to worship the Creator, and the prophecy brings into view a class that, as a result of a threefold message, are keeping the commandments of God. Canadian Bill C-367 could send Christians to jail for quoting the Bible. Jeff King, president of International Christian Concern, a religious persecution watchdog, reported on March 16, 2024, that proposed bill C-367 amends the criminal code. This is what he had to say.
Well, I would say, so first of all, it amends the criminal code, and it takes away some religious exemptions that protected Christians. So if you're in the United States, we saw the same kind of thing with the Equality Act that the Biden administration was trying to pass. And basically it creates hate speech laws. Some of those have already advanced in Canada, but Christians were protected. They said, well, if they're saying biblical things, or if they're saying things according to their faith, whether that's Quranic or biblical or whatever, they're protected. And this is the alarming thing, is that this strips those out. There is no protection. And as always, this is what the dictators and the despots do overseas to strangle Christianity or whatever faith. They say, oh, we have religious freedom, but not in the public sphere. So it's the same game. It's the same game being advanced around the Western world, and even what we saw again with the Equality Act in the United States.
The bill Mr. King was referring to, the Equality Act, prohibits discrimination based on sex, sexual orientation, and gender identity in areas including public accommodations and facilities, education, federal funding, employment, housing, credit, and the jury system. Specifically, the bill defines and includes sex and sexual orientation and gender identity among the prohibited categories of discrimination or segregation. The bill expands the definition of public accommodations to include places or establishments that provide exhibitions, recreation, exercise, amusement, gatherings or displays, goods, services, or programs, and transportation services. The bill allows the Department of Justice to intervene in equal protections actions in federal court on account of sexual orientation or gender identity. The bill prohibits an individual from being denied access to a shared facility, including a restroom, a locker room, and a dressing room, that is in accordance with the individual's gender identity. The Equality Act passed the House February 2nd, 2021.
Speaking hyperbole here, but if this bill were to pass, would this prohibit the sale of the Bible that teaches these things about sexual morality?
Well, literally, according to how this law is written, yes, it would. This is, PC culture, politically correct culture, gone horribly awry. This is really directly hitting at our First Amendment rights as American citizens. Now the Democrat legislators in this building right behind me, the California State Legislature, they want to tell you how to think, what sort of books that you can read, write, and purchase. It is completely wrong. It is absolutely against our First Amendment rights. And I, for one, will be a vocal opponent against this if it ever hits the assembly floor.
Right. I mean, some of the phrasing here, I read it in the introduction. I want to read it again. They say this includes efforts to change behaviors. I mean, that is the role of parents, to guide their children's behaviors. If they are not allowed to guide their children's behaviors with their religious beliefs, then what rights do parents even have in the state of California?
Which is exactly right. I mean, this is what the Democrats are trying to do in California. This is how bad it's gotten, how far away the California Democrat Party's actually gotten away from even just normal Democrats here in the state of California. They want to tell people how to think, what sort of books they can read, what books they can't read. Remember, this country is founded upon the freedom of expression. And now the California Democrats want to take even that away.
Right. And tell me, I mean, you're in the assembly, you work with these people. I know you respect your colleagues, but who is behind this?